Welcome to another episode of the Alignment Podcast. Really excited to have Brandon here with me today. Thanks for coming on the show, Brandon.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to be here. I'm glad Westy connected us.
Yeah, it's funny how often that the world gets really small, especially in the internet era. I had heard about you and then started seeing your stuff on LinkedIn, and so it's fun to have you on. Just kind of by way of intro, Brandon is a partner at Advantage Heating, and he's the president of HVAC Launch. So really excited to learn about what he's been up to. Brandon, if to get us started, if you could just tell us, your story and where you've been and what you're most excited about right now.
Yeah, my dad started Advantage Heating over 30 years ago. So I'm 37, so I've been around it since I was a little kid. Got to watch it from being a tiny little shop, literally right next to our house. Like Saturday morning, if people were working, I'm watching cartoons. There's guys coming in to use the bathroom.
That's awesome.
Grew up around it. Watched him go through all the struggles, trials, and everything of what it looks like to start a heating company from scratch, which actually turned me away from wanting to be an HVAC at all. Quite frankly, I never thought that I would end up in the industry myself. Until like my mid 20s, I had moved to Portland for a while, moved back to Salem. The company was kind of just starting to expand at that time because he went through '08 and everything, right? So the business did a lot
Yeah.
of up and down like this for a while. So he was getting to the point where he needed a second salesperson. That's kind of where the company was at the time. And I had done some sales. I was an assistant sales manager at an AT&T store in Portland. And I was like, you know what? All right, let's take a look. He took me to Vegas to like a dealer conference and wined and dined me and tricked me into joining the company basically. But I did realize, okay, like there can be a real career in HVAC. There can be money in HVAC. And that was kind of my first willingness to jump in. So just kind of fast forwarding, I worked on the sales team for a few years, and then obviously identified what a lot of companies identify as like, okay, we have a leads problem. I need more leads to run because like when we slow down, sales guy, Steve, who had the tenure, he got fed all the leads, right? So I would go from making great money in the summer to literally making nothing in the fall. Like I remember having like a $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 month in commission in August, and then September made like $900, and I was like, oh God, I can't, I can't live off of this. So I actually started studying guys like Gary Vee and seeing what they were doing on social media, and was like, okay, how could that apply to heating and air conditioning and in the trades? And so I started taking that on literally just free time because like, can I generate leads? And then pretty soon I was generating leads through social media ads, going out and running those leads myself, and then getting a feedback loop of learning like, okay, what speaks to the market? How do you get a lead interested? And then you go out and you talk to that actual lead that you generated. So I had a really good information feedback loop for a while. Ended up doing sales and marketing for several years, and actually left for a year to start my own marketing agency. And then the operator for Advantage at the time, my dad was kind of phasing out and turning things over to him. He quit suddenly, like literally no notice. My
Oh,
dad was
wow.
walking through and he was walking out, and I got a phone call from him. I knew what that meant and could mean to the family business. So I came back, and I remember a couple months in, things were rough. It was very, very clear things were rough. This was 2023, end of 23. So just as the economy was really changing, we'd had a lot of inflation. It was not 21 and 22 anymore, where we were breaking records and growing like crazy.
Yeah.
And I noticed it too from the marketing side. Getting leads was way harder, way more expensive, like 5-10xing the cost per lead. So I was trying to solve this problem already. Again, the leads problem, I called it. And anyway, I looked at my dad after being back for 2 to 3 months, and I was like, okay, you got to level with me. Do we have days, weeks, or months to survive? He was like, we don't have months. I was like, okay, we need to make some massive changes. We started changing the culture, changed a lot of the management team, changed how we viewed the business, changed how we did marketing. I mean, from top to bottom, we went through the last couple of years and rebuilt the entire machine while it was running, which is, I don't know, man, it's got to be almost as hard as starting it from scratch, because those are the hardest 2 years of my life, probably. But in the meantime, a lot of good came out of that. And I mean, I will say we were just out last night celebrating the first $1 million month we'd had in almost 2 years. And that was just in residential install sales for an HVAC company. That's pretty good.
That's
We
amazing.
the leads problem. In the process, my cousin and his team that were doing some stuff in B2B tech um, decided they wanted to get into the trades. So we created a partnership that then became HVAC Launch, where we're using Meta to produce leads at a very low cost. And then we focus on booking rate and close rate for sales so that we can follow the trail all the way through to install. And some really cool stuff going on there too. So what I'm really excited about is the challenge itself. These last couple years, I think you've seen a lot of people in business in every industry where they got a little confused as to how good they were or were not when times were really, really good. And
When
now
money was free.
yep, exactly. Money was free, or like you're damn near getting paid to take money.
Yeah.
Everybody was having good years during that time for the most part. And now, like, we have this opportunity essentially to get good and to get really, really good. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for the future. I think we're on a good path, a good upward trajectory, and very excited to see where we go from here.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, first off, congrats. That's huge. Second, I'm curious over the last 2 years with Advantage, right, where the company's been around for 30 years. What are those intentional changes in culture and people and focus look like? How did you decide what to change? Are you in a solid spot now, or is that fully evolving? Tell me more about that. And how do you ensure that the people, as you continue to grow, that people align with what you're aiming to build?
Such a good question, man. I know exactly the first thing culture wise that I changed. When you just come off of this high in business where everybody's calling, everybody's booking, right? Like there was a year where we were constrained, our growth was constrained because we couldn't buy enough trucks. That's kind of a crazy spot to be for growth, right? But
Yeah.
when you come out of that and suddenly it's difficult, you've gotten used to just taking orders, man. Like everything's all, we're a family and we love each other and everything's great, to all of a sudden you're in this hyper competitive environment where the pie is shrinking really, really fast. And the only way that you can maintain business or grow is to enlarge your percentage of that pie, because the pie itself is no longer growing like it was. Now it's shrinking. Very first thing was I was hearing everybody was, we're a family, we're a family, we're a family. That's great. I love for people to feel that way. I have nothing against that. But the first thing I changed was I remember saying this in a meeting within my first couple of months back on the team when I was taking over all the operations. I was like, look, let's get very, very clear. Everybody has heard you want the right people on the right seats on the bus, right? I think that's good to great. And I was like, but not everyone talks about the fact that this bus only has so many seats. So are you the best possible person on the right seat on the bus? And I immediately shifted. I said, look, we have to stop looking at this as a family, because in business, especially when it's very competitive, you have to make hard decisions you wouldn't make if you were a family member. We need to be a competitive team because this has become a competitive sport. And that's what we need to change. And that was the first culture piece that we shifted. And now, yes, absolutely. Like the entire culture is different. And I think what happens is you start creating an environment like that, and you have people who step up and level up. And then you have some people that decide it's not for them. And we had literally both. And then once you get enough of the people who have stepped up and leveled up, and enough of the former cast members that have decided to part ways. And I had one person, like, she'd been with the company 7 years. She was a family friend. And she literally came to me. She's like, I feel like a bad leader because I think I need to leave. I was like, well, why? She's like, I just don't think that I'm the one to lead the team back up this mountain again. And I was like, but that's a sign of a good leader. You're recognizing that you don't want to climb the mountain. You're probably not the right one to lead the team to do that. You being willing to step aside and say, I'm going to go look elsewhere, is actually the markings of a good leader. And I would, she gave us a month's notice. It was great, right? But that it wasn't all like, oh, slash people and, things
Yeah.
like that. I mean, we also had people that recognized the culture shift and the challenges ahead and just bowed out gracefully. And that was great to see too. But in the end, once it's skewed the other direction enough, pretty soon the team is weeding out people who aren't going to make it on the team themselves, right? Winners want to work with other winners. And the more that you foster that kind of culture, the easier it is. Like someone who's not on that level probably is going to weed themselves out, or they're just going to, like, it just suddenly there's friction. It doesn't match anymore. And so that's been pretty, by far, I think the biggest change. And yeah, it took, I would say 12 to 18 months before it was like a true full culture shift. And along with that, I would say second most important was the level of transparency and candor that I was willing to have with the team compared to my predecessor in this role. And even my dad, he's typically been more of a hold his cards close to his chest kind of guy. And I think it was a little unnerving how transparent I was willing to be with the team about actual numbers, financials, where we're really at. And I had people caution me against it, people internally, people who maybe were in sales but had been a manager, people from the outside. You're going to scare people and they're going to leave if you're not careful. And I'm like, yeah, but the ones who stay and who can handle this are the ones that we want. Like, we have a very hard road ahead, and they need to know how hard it is, how hard it's going to be, and how precarious of a position we're in right now. They need to know. And yeah, in a full on company meeting, maybe I'm a little tactful, but especially in private meetings with specific departments, especially like the sales team, management team, and things like that. I mean, I was very clear. There was a day I remember vividly where I pulled the sales team aside and I was like, if we don't sell X number of jobs today, we might not be coming to work on Monday. And that was a Friday. And every time they got a sale, they called me. And by the second sale, I was tearing up until the final sale. Like, I actually collapsed on the floor and was crying because we hit the numbers we needed to stay in business. But the team knew that. They watched it happen. They were part of it. And I think that's how you change culture.
That's awesome. So people have culture is a big buzzword. People have lots of different
Mm,
definitions for it. The definition we find most useful is that culture is the shared experiences and beliefs of a
I
team.
like that.
How do you carry that culture forward as you bring new people on and as you keep growing the team, right? Because those sales guys who were there for that Friday, or
Hmm.
somebody who watched you like have that reaction, that's now part of the like company lore where
Right.
there's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this was do or die day and we didn't die. Is that a story you tell, or like how do you help the new people feel like they're a part of the team and the history of it?
I mean, one, yes, it is a story that we tell. Like when we were last night, when we were celebrating, that story came up and we talked
That's so
about it.
cool.
It'll get referenced. Like you said, it's part of the lore, so
Yeah,
like those days get referenced. And I think the team is obviously a very crucial piece to carrying on the culture for the future. And then I think really like, how are you interviewing candidates and like, I mean, actually this is playing directly into what you do and what you guys are good at as well, right?
yeah.
Like I'll give you an example. Like in an interview, someone will say something like, I'll ask, well, like, why are you looking to come here? Like, well, I'm really looking for a place that I can grow, something that feels like a family, etc. And immediately I'll try and reframe for them, right? Like, well, yes, I understand the elements of a family culture that you're looking for, and that's great, but let's be clear. Here's who we are and here's what we stand for right there in the interview. And then I was literally giving someone, I was on the phone yesterday with a potential candidate for the sales team. And I was like, look, business is going to ebb and flow by nature of the seasons in our industry. And the way that when we slow down, the way that you're going to continue to get fed for leads is where do you stack up in the ranking for the sales team based on skill set? This is a sink or swim sort of atmosphere. Like, you prove your worth and your ability to get those leads when leads get scarce. And I was like, for as long as you're here, we will pour into you. We will love you. We will do our best to raise you up and give you the training that you need and help develop your career. But when push comes to shove, this is going to be a merit-based decision. Are you prepared for that kind of environment? Right? I think it's a similar level of the radical candor, but right up front in the interview process. And if someone is saying things that they're looking for that don't align immediately, like it needs to be reframed and almost try and sell them out of coming to work here and make them very, very clear on what it means to align with who we are. And then when they come on board, and we've had this happen a couple times, like, I'm also very, very quick to cut. And our team is too, right? It's like my dad used to say, I'll know in 3 days if someone's going to make it or not. I think you really can. I just had a scenario where we brought on a salesperson and within 1 week, he never got to run a sales call, but it was just, how is he learning? What does he perceive like a growth mindset to be, right? Like you're looking for those crucial traits, and someone can fool you in an interview or tell you what you want to hear, regardless of how good. I like to think I'm great at reading people.
Sure.
Regardless of that, like, people can trick you in a very short window of time. Your thin slice could be off, but then your team, like, I'm getting feedback from my team constantly. Like, yo, this is how this guy thinks about this thing. Like, are we sure? Right? This is this. And then you communicate with them and you're looking for those core traits. And it's not so much do they have the technical skill, it's like, do they meet those foundational requirements that will eventually make them a good team member and fit things long term? And if you identify they're not, why keep investing into that, not just from a time perspective, but financially and everything else? Make the decision, part ways, this isn't a good fit, and move to the next candidate. And not everybody can do that. And people like to give a lot of second chances. And sometimes that's the best move. And sometimes we've had people that got cut and they came back 6 months later and they were in a different headspace. But like
Yeah.
you also have to be willing to cut quickly too when they don't fit. That way the team, it then just reinforces the values to your team as well. It's like, yeah, look, if they don't fit this culture, they're going to leave or they're going to get cut very, very quickly. And you have to make those decisions quick so that you're protecting it at all times.
Yeah. Because when you make exceptions, it erodes the culture.
Hmm.
And when you let people stick around, right, it becomes that shared experiences and beliefs that it's, hey,
Yep.
if somebody's, not viewing things the right way or they believe different things and you tolerate it, that becomes part of the culture. So
Yep.
I'm curious, you've done this in Advantage. As you look both as Advantage continues to grow and as you see other businesses, how do you scale this? How do you scale what you've just described?
Yeah, that's literally a topic of conversation right now, especially on the HVAC launch side, because we provide things to other clients. I don't fully know yet, but in some ways, it's almost like it would be easier just to do it ourselves. Like one of the things that's very much on the table is growing through acquisition
Sure.
and then trying to identify key players. And I put a lot of thought into, okay, if we grow by acquisition, how do you create this kind of buy-in and this culture very, very quickly on that new team with those new players? And I think you do it the same way. I think it's with radical candor. So literally, like I have notes written down for this potentially happening in the future. I've rehearsed this, 2, 3, 5 hour thing. Like I think what I would do is, okay, first thing, like you have a day and you just shut down business. It's a whole company meeting. And the first thing that you do is you find out, okay, why do you like working where you're working now? Why do you like this industry? Why do you like this? Why do you like that? And then you listen and you take in what they say and how they think about it. And then you use the next bit of time to try and reframe. And I think you tell the story like, hey, we were in a rough position and here's how we got out of it. And here's what changed in the culture and reinstate bringing core values to that team. And I have this strategy that I use to create buy-in that I've been using for a little while now, and we'll see how long the formula holds. But it starts with this. It's like, okay, in terms of like new players on the team by way of acquisition, first, what's in it for them? Always
Sure.
start with that. Number two is what's in it for the customers if we make these changes? What's in it for the company if we make these changes? And then when the company does well, the what's in it for the company pillar is satisfied, circle back. And what does that then mean? What's in it for you again, once we get to where we need to be, right? So, what's in it for them? What's in it for the customers? What's in it for the company? And then back to what's in it for them once we accomplish the goal and keep reinforcing that. That's the strategy that I'm playing with when I speak to other businesses. And I think that is the strategy that I'll use when we go the acquisition route.
That's cool. It is a forever evolving problem. I think anything that has to do with the people in a business, it's always going to be, the best and the worst part of business. Like it's the most fulfilling and the hardest
Yeah.
because there's just so many different dynamics. And especially as you evolve into, it's new every time. As you apply that framework, like it's landing on a different landscape with each person.
A
And
100%.
it's fun.
I had a company reach out to me, and this just ties into that last question you had. I had a company that they were asking me some questions. They weren't a right fit for us as a client. They just didn't have the budget yet, and there was other things that they should be doing first. So we kind of let them know that, set up a little quick training with them and stuff. And they were asking about Google local service ads, and they were like, "But we need to do background checks." I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Do you background check your guys?" "Yeah, we do." He's like, "We have one guy that I just don't think he'll do it." I'm like, "Okay." They're like, "Well, what do you do if someone won't do something like that and you're trying to make a change?" Like, told them how I would communicate it, right? What's in it for you? What's in it for, right? Did that whole thing. And
Yeah.
I was like, but at the end of the day, guys, you have to decide this is the direction we're going. And like, you also have to be okay with people not coming on the journey with you sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the whole shift from as cliche as it is like scarcity to abundance of like, hey,
Hmm.
look, just because this one person's amazing and they've brought you this far doesn't mean that you're not gonna be able to find somebody else to do
Yep.
that. And so it's funny how everything with people gets easier when you realize, hey, if you just help people get what they want, and if where you're going isn't what they want, then helping them to get what they want somewhere else is the
Yeah.
best method.
100%.
It makes all those hard conversations way easier.
I've had people look at me very surprised because we've had a couple people who have left here to start their own businesses. And I've had a couple meetings with those guys where it's like, okay, let me meet with you next week. We'll sit down for an hour or two. My dad and I will give you everything we would do if we were starting over today. Now people be
Yeah.
like, why would you do that? They're going to be your competition. Like, yeah, number one, I know how hard it is. So odds are,
Yeah.
they're not gonna be our competition anytime soon. But also, like, that's just good. That's just good karma, right? Like, they're going to have a customer that they can't fulfill, or they're going to have an employee they can't hire. And like, you want them to feel good about you too. Like, the exit's
Yeah.
just as important as the entrance. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you said, fight to help them get to where they want, even if it's not with you, and that will come back to benefit you as well, even if you're looking at it selfishly.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Well, Brandon, this was awesome. Thanks so much for chatting. As you keep growing, and especially with HVAC launch, if people want to follow along and learn more, where's the best place to find you?
Right now, LinkedIn, we actually do have some content being edited right now that'll be on Instagram as well. But if you look
Oh,
for
cool.
Brandon Sommers on LinkedIn, that's going to be the best spot. And if you're in the HVAC industry, I promise you in the next 30, 60, 90 days, you're going to be seeing me pop up on Instagram, and you can just follow me when you see it.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Thank you so much for your time, and it was a pleasure having you on. I'm sure we'll have you on again.
Thanks, Jacob. Look forward to it.
Yeah. Thanks, Brandon.